And hello again from WJ Live, powered by the Western Journal. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. My name's Josh Manning. I am Deputy Managing Editor for Assignment at the Western Journal. Joining me on my right is Joey. He is an assignment editor, recently promoted, full assignment editor.
Thank you.
At Joey Chester at the Western Journal. And then on our left is the much storied, legendary Floyd Brown, who once upon a time founded the Western Journal.
And I have a great book out called Big Tech Tyrants.
And see that?
And it's available at Patriot Depot.
Didn't even have to rely on me to plug the book, which I would not have done. You're on the ball, ready to go. That's Floyd. Folks, we're so glad you're here with us today. We're going to get going. We want to talk about President Biden's latest flub. We want to talk about the COVID, what the parts of the country that are still shut down by COVID, what they look like. And then we've got an interesting sort of a tempest in the teapot for Burger King and an allegedly wildly sexist tweet they put out. We're going to get your opinion on that. First off, though, we want to say thank you to Patriot Depot. Patriot Depot is sponsoring today's episode. Check out patriotdepot.com. They've got all the supplies you need for the conservative revolution, whether that's T-shirts or bumper stickers or figurines, books, all kinds of really cool conservative paraphernalia. They have it.
Plus my book, Big Tech Tyrants.
Plus Floyd's
Big
book,
Tech Tyrants.
Big Tech Tyrants.
And I see you can get 20% off on Tech Tyrants today.
Yes, use the code WJLive. When you check out, use the promo code WJLive. 20% off everything, including the hit book, Big Tech Tyrants by Floyd Brown, over at patriotdepot.com. Thank you guys over at Patriot Depot for sponsoring us. Now, Big Tech has done an awful lot to advance narratives about COVID and things from Dr. Fauci and
the other experts that are absolutely worthless.
And Democrat governors who are worthless, who shut down their states needlessly. You just went on a journey. You went on walkabout. Tell us what you saw.
Well, first of all, it's great to get out and start moving around the country. And if you haven't done that yet, it's okay. It's safe. You can get on an airplane. You can fly. You can stay in a hotel. You can go to a restaurant, and it will be okay. And this weekend, I did just that. I went to Orlando, Florida, and I had the opportunity to hear Governor Ron DeSantis speak, and it told me so much about what's going on in the country, and I wanted to share it with you guys. First of all, it's really important to know that places that didn't shut down, and I'm talking
like Florida.
I'm talking about Florida, I'm talking about South Dakota and other places, are doing better in their fight against COVID than places that did shut down and had all of these, policies that destroyed small business, hurt family income, threw people out of work.
The people who could least afford it, too.
The people who could least afford it. And so I just wanted to let you know things are good in Florida. And I thought it would be good for us to compare Florida to California. They're both big states. California, their governor is hanging on by a thread because they want to throw him out of office and recall him, Gavin Newsom. And I think the reason people are wanting to throw him out is because he had these most draconian of shutdowns, these most draconian mask mandates. Kids still aren't in school. You can't even go to the beach in many places. It's
not if you're a regular person. If you're Gavin, you can still go.
It's a dystopian world, but at the same time, yes, the elites don't follow the very rules that they put in place for us, the little guys. So Ron DeSantis got it right. This is what he did. He locked down the most vulnerable groups. in California, they locked down everybody, and it worked worse. Now you have to realize Florida has the oldest, I think in the country, the oldest population in the entire country.
Right.
So many people retire down to Florida, and so the demographic that could tear through the state was there with COVID. And what did he do? He actually put guards at the front of some of these communities that are 55 plus communities, and he protected the vulnerable, while at the same time he didn't, he got the schools back up and running, and so kids who are not in the least threatened by COVID were getting an education. And people that worked in restaurants were working. People that were working in the tourist industry were working. I mean, just take the example of Disneyland versus Disney World.
Yeah. Right.
While Disney World was functioning at a lower level because they weren't getting the international tourists like they usually do, and Disney World is big with people coming in from all over the world. But still. People were able to take driving vacations from the states surrounding Florida and go to Disney World. And so people have some sense of normalcy. And it's really important. So I was at a conference in the particular hotel I was in. A lot of the staff had been on furlough for a long time. And I had one of the guys lean over and basically whisper in my ear. He said, "I just want to thank you for having the courage, first of all, to come to a conference, and for putting me back to work."
So this is one of the guys who worked there.
One of the guys that worked at the hotel. So I just wanted to basically call out an attaboy to Governor Ron DeSantis, who opened up Florida. Florida's completely open now. They've totally dropped the mask mandate. You don't have to wear the tissue paper on your face, and you can actually see people. It's somewhat normal there.
You see them smile.
So I want to call him out and say, "Hey, great job, Governor DeSantis." But I also wanted to say to all those governors that are still, locking people down and basically keeping people in self-imposed jails, let the people go. Let them go. One of the things he talked about in his speech was nobody's telling you about the kids that are committing suicide. Nobody's telling you about the people that are have drug and alcohol abuse problems as a result of being locked up in their houses. They're also not telling you about people that are dying because they were so freaked out and fearful they didn't go for their cancer screenings, and they didn't get their hearts checked out, and so people are dying of other things because of Fauci and what was it, 15 days to slow the spread that's now gone to a year.
Yeah.
So
the 1 year anniversary, 15 days to slow the spread.
Longest 2 weeks in my life.
It has been. And we're visiting here with special guest Floyd Brown, author of Big Tech Tyrants, which you can get over at patriotdepot.com.
Yeah, and part of this is
tyranny involved in this, Floyd.
And part of this is big tech tyranny because if anybody complains about the masks, they're canceled on social media. If anybody complains about the lockdowns, they're canceled on Facebook. If anybody, steps out of line and doesn't just adopt, Big Pharma's plan to, wear masks. By the way, I find masks choking. I just,
my wife does.
Yeah, I mean, I like to breathe, fresh air.
Yeah.
And if I'm, having to breathe back what I just exhaled, it just doesn't work for me.
Do you get hot? I get hot
so
in them.
hot,
I burn up when I'm having to wear them. I don't feel that. I don't feel the suffocating thing.
So I was trying to
burn up.
I was trying to read on the plane, and at my age, I have to have reading glasses, right? And they fog up when you've got that mask on. What's so funny is, you're not supposed to be letting anything out, but obviously I was letting something out because my glasses were so foggy I couldn't even read.
One time I made the mistake of putting in one of those fresh breath strips and then putting my mask on. No. And that is like pepper spraying yourself. Let me tell you. But the tyranny that's involved in this, you're so right, Floyd. And they have decided they're going to flood the zone. They're going to run as many terrifying stories about COVID as possible. And they're going to bring out so much obscure research that you really can't ever hope to get through on your own, especially if you don't have a PhD.
Right.
And so they're gonna overwhelm you. They're gonna hit you with a tsunami of stories. You're not gonna know what to do, and hopefully submit. That seems to be at least part of the way they play this game.
Well, and there's nobody to fight back when in Washington, D.C., sitting in the White House, we have somebody that is clearly disabled.
Well,
and that's the president.
Speaking of President Biden and his flub, we were trying to think. We need to come up with a name for these instead of just Biden flubs. Maybe that's good enough. We've heard Gaffe everywhere. We'll come up with a name and a graphic for this for you guys at some point. But we have excellent new flub footage.
How about calling him Biden disconnects?
Yes,
Biden disconnects.
Mental lapse. All sorts of things.
He's just disconnected from reality.
Well, that's the strange thing. Joey and I go around. We're on the same team here. We both work an assignment. And at least once every other day, we look at video of the president and we say, is he just walking around or is he completely dazed? We can't tell the difference between somebody who's just utterly disconnected and somebody who's walking down the street. It's very hard to tell with him because he seems to be disengaged so much of the time.
Yeah, first off, Biden hasn't held a solo press conference yet as president, making him the first president in over 100 years to not hold a press conference by this point in his presidency. The only one.
But he is supposed to be circling back to it.
Right, they'll circle back to it.
I'm going to make a prediction.
Oh, here we go. All right, here we go.
He's never going to give one. Ever.
Ooh, you heard it here first,
During
folks.
his
Good
presidency,
prediction.
he's never going to give
I believe it.
a totally unaided free-for-all the way President Trump
The kind of thing Trump would do weekly, if not more often.
You're never going to see one. He's not capable of doing it.
Right.
Well, I agree with that completely. And I don't know what video you have, or I don't know if you brought video, but you and I were looking at video earlier of them trying desperately to get the press out of the room.
Yeah, Joe Biden was touring a small business in Washington, D.C., and he's just kind of looking around, and he looks so empty inside. It doesn't even look like there's a human being inside of him. When you look at him, he looks like a shell of a person.
Okay, here's another name. The lights are out, Biden.
Yes. So
we did talk about using that the other day.
Yes.
The lights are out.
Yeah.
The lights are on,
out.
but nobody's home.
Yeah.
We thought about that one.
Yeah,
the
lights are out. The lights are out.
The press starts shouting at Biden, Mr. President, is there a crisis at the border? Is there a crisis at the border?
Yeah,
Because
you
the
hear it
administration
twice.
keeps saying there isn't a crisis. And as soon as the press utters a word, Biden's handlers, press, get out of here. It's time to leave. Leave, get out of here. And he's still just,
So do you have some footage to show us?
So there's been two recent incidents. One of them was after the Senate passed the COVID relief bill. Joe Biden was attempting to explain the COVID relief bill, and I think I understand it less after watching Biden explain it than the second one.
Less well-informed after listening to the president.
The second one comes from Joe Biden was marking International Women's Day. Was that yesterday or the day before? It was yesterday,
I think that
right?
was yesterday.
And he was talking about his Secretary of Defense and the Pentagon. But Biden managed to forget the names of both of those things. So let's roll those two clips, please.
Economic polling initiatives. The economists, as I said, left, right, and center, say in addition to the needs the people have, we need this to grow the economy. That if we haven't spent this money and recreated the kind of incentive for people to be able to make a good living, that we'd be in real trouble. So I want to thank you both, and I want to thank the former general. I keep calling him general, but the guy who runs that outfit over there. I want to make sure we thank the secretary for all he's done to try to implement what we just talked about, and for recommending these two women for promotion. Thank you all. May God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
You've been listening to President Biden marking international.
So he doesn't know his Secretary of Defense.
No, it's the guy that runs that
secretary.
outfit down there.
Who runs that outfit?
That outfit.
And we don't even know. Is that the Pentagon?
The Pentagon. He
Yeah,
doesn't.
you can't remember the Pentagon.
That funny
What is
looking
the
office
Pentagon?
building. You know?
What is that outfit?
It sounds, and I don't mean to be glib about this. I had a grandfather who was suffering from dementia, and it sounds like something I would have expected to hear from him.
Absolutely.
The guy down there.
Yeah.
You know, at the place.
They must have forgotten Biden's teleprompter for this, or else
So-
he could have just
all
read
right,
it.
I was
off
thinking
of it.
about that. If you're going to be, Barack Obama was many things. One thing you could say, he was actually super disciplined out there. He was disciplined on message, I think. He was very disciplined when he was giving a speech,
Right.
too, and he didn't wander. Biden has this thing, though. He likes to engage with the audience. He likes to try to draw energy from them.
Sure.
And he just can't help himself. He has an idea pops into his head, and he says it, but it's not prompted, and then he's stuck. And he makes it halfway down a road and
Right.
then does it like a doddering old person. He has no idea where to go from there.
You often have conversations like this when you're, in I hate to say it, but in a retirement home or in assisted living facility. You meet people like this.
Yeah, he just
Right.
escaped Cuomo's homes by that much, man. That much.
And it's very sad.
It is.
But what you really have to do is you have to examine the heads of the people that would elect someone like this.
Right.
Because we knew before the election that this man was not playing with a full deck of cards. And as time has gone on, it's becoming more and more obvious as each day passes that he is incapable of being president of the United States. And he really should be removed.
You know what this reminds me of, and we can talk about how he looks and this and that, and yeah, we're kind of looking from the outside. We're on the outside looking in. But you know what this really makes me think of is when JFK met with Khrushchev. And remember that first time JFK's back, he had back problems for years. He was heavily medicated. Khrushchev judged him to be really not all there, kind of a wimp. And after that, you end up having the Cuban Missile Crisis because Khrushchev figured, this guy's a pushover. This guy's a pushover.
Well, if I was Iran or if I was China or if I was any other
Exactly.
leader around the world that hated the United States, this is the time I'd move.
Exactly.
Even, you can disagree with Barack Obama's policies all day long, but at least he was there. He was a coherent person. He was well-spoken. Trump, very strong, powerful leader.
Yeah.
Bush, he was there. He was well-spoken. Reagan. You go back, then you look at Biden, he's not there. So do you guys even think Biden's going to make it 4 years?
Well, that's why I don't think he'll give a full press conference is because, no, he's not going to make it 4 years, number one. But number two, he's already in such decline. I have no idea how much longer they're going to allow him to continue to stay in office. I mean, remember, he's controlling the nuclear codes.
Well,
supposedly.
yeah, and they were. I mean, I don't know if you saw the story a week ago. They're trying to revise that a little bit. And Joey and I, where you need multiple authorizations to launch, and Joey and I were in there kind of saying, Is this because they're afraid Trump's going to come back in 2024 and it's an optics move on their part, or are they genuinely worried that somebody who's not all there has potentially got their finger on the button? That's a scary thought.
And remember also, as people sink into dementia, they often become frightened, they often become paranoid, and they often distribute personality traits that they never had at any point during their lifetime. And so their personalities actually change. Anyone who's dealt with someone who has serious dementia knows that. And so, he needs medical attention.
Yeah.
He doesn't need the stress of being president of the United States.
Well, Floyd, you've been in the world of politics for 40 years. I've watched Biden for years and decades now.
Oh, he's not the
This
same.
is not the same
No,
Biden.
it's definitely not the
This
same
is
Biden.
not the same Joe Biden.
Biden used to be much, much sharper.
He was articulate, charming, fun. I mean, I remember watching him on Meet the Press with Tim Russert, and I'd be watching it with my family because we were nerds. That's how I grew up, and that's how I ended up here. But, we disagreed with Biden on almost everything, but we still liked. He's still charming. And there's just nothing. It doesn't look like there's anything left under the surface.
No, and we have no idea what Kamala Harris believes because she's been changing her opinions, rapidly, and so America's into a time period that's going to be extremely dangerous and extremely difficult to navigate with these unproven leaders, with a leader in the Oval Office right now that I think clearly has dementia. It's a very difficult time.
Speaking of Kamala, I think there's another two clear signs that Biden won't make it all 4 years. One of them is a bipartisan group of senators just moved to strip Joe Biden of his war powers, which is probably a good thing for most presidents. But still, it indicates that there's some lack of trust there for Biden to make military moves. And two, there was a Washington Post, and for the Washington Post to admit this is pretty big considering their massive liberal bias. They said Kamala has been acting on behalf of Biden with foreign leaders on a regular basis. She's taking phone calls with them. She's speaking to them by herself. That seems like a clear sign that someone, Kamala, is gearing up to make that shift within the next 3-4 years.
Go ahead.
He's never gonna give a full press conference. You heard it here first. Never gonna give one.
And what that reminds me of instantly is FDR at the end. And it reminds me of, I think Woodrow Wilson at the end had the same kind of circumstance where essentially someone else was president.
Right.
There was a shadow president in play. And, and then, of course, Biden, what was it, a couple months ago, referred to her as the president, I think, didn't he? If I remember correctly. So what's down in the well comes up in the bucket.
Maybe Kamala Harris will end up somehow becoming the first
female president.
Speaking of that,
We know one place she won't show up, and that's in the kitchen at Burger King.
Bam! What a transition. Wow. What a transition. Can you tell, folks, former radio host and now author. Well, you've been an author for a long time. Floyd Brown.
Available at patriotdepot.com.
And what's the name? Big Tech Tyrants. 20% off. WJ Live coupon code. All right. So yesterday was International Women's Day, a day when the world puts aside its universal hatred of women.
What?
And recognizes them. It's the strangest thing. It's like,
Feminists.
No, we've all worked together for thousands and thousands of years. Outside of radical Islam, I'm not sure how many cultures out there hate women. Certainly not the West.
Most men I know really like women.
Was you and I were talking about this earlier? As Christianity, it was the West that elevated women far above the status that they had.
Well, they still don't have the status in Asian society that they have in Western society.
Absolutely not.
And they don't have the same status in African society. They don't have the same status really anywhere outside of the sphere of Christianity, because Christ was the first of the philosophical leaders to treat women as equal to men.
Yeah, there's neither male nor female, Jew nor Greek, bond nor slave. Early on, one of the earliest passages in Scripture, the writer of Genesis says, and God created them in His image, male and female, created both of them in His image. Right. That's a remarkable idea. And by the way, you want to see something interesting? Go to China with my wife, who is almost as tall as I am and was a college athlete, and watch them try to ignore her. It is hilarious. She will not be ignored. It is, yeah, it was excellent when that happened. But anyway, International Women's Day, somebody at Burger King, it had to be the social media intern. Everybody's got a social media intern. Burger King must too. Well, they don't have the same one, I'm sure, now. Burger King tweeted out, man, they didn't waste any time either. This was 1:01 a.m. on International Women's Day. They had been sitting on this, waiting for this. It's 5 words. Burger King tweets, women belong in the kitchen. Women belong in the kitchen.
So, I mean, the truth is, at Burger King, most of the people cooking hamburgers are men, and they wanted more women.
Yeah. And it turns out, internationally, most of the best known, most renowned, most famous, most successful chefs are men. But how dare Burger King indicate they want more women working there? Now, you could say that this was ham-handed. You could say there was kind of a wink and a nudge. But anyway, Burger King got an enormous amount of attention. They followed it up later with another tweet saying, followed up the women belong in the kitchen tweet with another tweet saying, if they want to be in the kitchen, if they want to, of course, yet only 20% of chefs are women. We're on a mission to change the gender ratio in the restaurant industry by empowering female employees with the opportunity to pursue a culinary career, #IWD, International Women's Day. So now everybody's, they're just trying to slide out of this.
I mean, the truth is that the modern ethos is that, quote, men and women are identical. Okay? Men and women are very different.
Yeah.
And this whole notion that they're totally the same it's nonsense.
Yeah.
And I mean, they've taken that nonsense and extended it further. Now, I don't know, there's 116 or 200 genders, and we're all supposed to know what these different genders are. I mean, they've made a mockery of themselves by having these philosophies that are just totally against common sense. And it's a good thing men and women are different because, the family wouldn't exist without a man and a woman coming together to have children. Now, I just made what's a very, I think, common sense statement. But today, in this crazy world, up is down, down is up, saying a family is a man and a woman and children is now controversial.
Well, and alarmingly, it's increasingly controversial in the church, too. Yeah. This is not limited to secular culture the way it used to be. We're finding these things in the church as well.
Maybe in a faux church, but I'll tell you what, if anybody is attending a church where the pastor is confused between men and women and what they are, run for the hills. Get out of that church, because you are in a place where you're not going to find the Word of God. The Word of God is so extremely clear. He created them male and female. He created men and women in His image, and it's a beautiful thing. I mean, the relationship in marriage between men and women is such a wonderful thing. Christ later uses it as an analogy for His relationship with us, and those of us who are Christians, we're all waiting for what we call the marriage supper with the Lamb, which
we're
is
the bride of Christ.
We're the bride of Christ, and we're going to be married for all eternity to Christ. And that's because that marriage is so sacred and so important and so significant that there's nothing else like it. And people that adopt other views, I just think they're missing out. They're missing the beauty and the wonder and the fabulousness of a relationship that a man and a woman can have inside of marriage.
My old pastor, talking about churches where this could be an issue, my old pastor used to say, if you find yourself in a church that is not preaching the Bible as the inspired, infallible Word of God, you need to saturate that church with your absence.
I like
It's a pretty good expression.
Yeah.
You need to saturate that church with your absence. And increasingly, I think we're having to do that, which is incredibly dangerous. You're right. Just from the standpoint of common sense, one of the weird positions that the identity-obsessed left has gotten themselves into, this sort of logical pretzel. Remember, for years they told us, listen, sexual orientation, whether you're gay or straight, that's biological. You don't have a choice in that. That's biological. But now, all of a sudden, gender is not biological. You do have a choice in that. It's perhaps environmentally influenced. And it's not clear to me how you can have both. And I'm sure there's some very smart people on the left who have come up with some way to justify this, but I haven't seen it yet.
They're crackpots. They are. I mean, they are always accusing conservatives of not following the science. I mean, it's very clear. We have different chromosomes. Okay, our sex is determined by our DNA, and they want to deny that. I mean, we're physically different. If they want to look between the legs, they'll find those differences. It's the truth is we are physically different.
Yeah.
And they're just crackpots coming up with all this stuff. And you know why they do it? They do it because they want to deny God. They want to deny God. Well, if he made us male and female, we're going to be something else.
Right.
It flows out of their denial of God because they don't want to be held accountable. They don't like the fact that there is sin, and they don't want to be held accountable for their own sin. But there is a path forward, and that is we've all sinned, we've all come short of the glory of God, and we can be reunited with Christ through accepting his forgiveness for those sins.
And one of the things, you are 100% right. One of the things that is happening in the church is that I think some well-meaning but not biblically grounded people see folks hurting. People who are hurting, they're confused, maybe they're beset by some kind of sin. And those people in the church are trying to figure out how to comfort them. But you don't help somebody by making them comfortable in their sin. You help somebody by helping them to see the truth.
And by calling them out from their sin. When they were preparing to stone the woman, and Jesus, bent down and he wrote, those of you that haven't sinned, throw the first
Yeah, that's
stone.
what he said. Yeah, that's what he said.
Yes, and when that happened, clearly everybody there knew they had sinned. But what did he say to the woman right after that? Go and sin no more. It's not, today in our society they want to glorify sin. They want to, brag about, I've had this many partners, I've done thruples or whatever it is they do. Let me just tell you, I don't know what they are.
Voice cracked just thinking about a thruple.
All I have to say is my own testimony is I got married young, and I've been married for 37 years to a wonderful woman, and the relationship I've had with her has been fulfilling, it has been deep, it has been beautiful, and I thank God every day that I haven't been in all these kind of crazy relationships. And I think people are missing out. If they do things the way God plans it, wow, they can have an awesome life and they can really enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
So, all you have to do is listen to Christ. Go and sin no more. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. You can accept him. You can embrace him. You can read his word because he is the word. And that word is him speaking to you. So when you read the Bible, that's Christ speaking into your ear. You've got direct communication straight from him. Download it, and you're gonna love life.
It's good. And folks, where else are you going to get that but WJ Live?
Yes.
Right? I mean, that is an excellent discussion. Politics, culture, the faith, all rolled into one. We get excited about the show because we get excited about talking about these things with you all. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are here every Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. If you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to click the subscribe button. After you click that, a little bell's going to come up. Be sure to click that bell too. That's going to make sure that you get notified when we go live. If you've heard of shadow banning, one of the things that shadow banning means is you don't get notified when people show up online. Well, click the bell. You're going to get notified when we show up online. My Southern Tourette's just fired up there. Click the bell. Happens sometimes, folks. But again, thank you for joining us. WJ Live is powered by the Western Journal at westernjournal.com. Thank you for reading our stories and spending time over there. Please continue to. If you feel led to support us in ways other than just reading our stories, which we're super glad you do that, but if you feel led to support us in other ways, you can always go to westernjournal.com/join. That's westernjournal.com/join. There's several ways you can partner with us to help fight back against the left, fight for America, fight for a Christian worldview, and fight back against the big tech tyrants that Floyd Brown has written about. And you can find them over at patriotdepot.com. Folks, thanks for joining us. We're going to see you again right here, same time, same YouTube channel tomorrow. Thanks, and have a great night. Hey guys, huge story. We need a fresh card. Let's red label it. Roll as fast as we can.
All right, on it. Sounds good. All right, guys, we got a red label breaking story. Can we get a picture for that? And can we try to get that out in the next 20 minutes? I want eyes on it as soon as possible.
On it, Joe. 2 more minutes and we'll be live.
Sam, we're going to need a slot for that story, so figure out what you want to bump. Ashley, we're going to want to translate it into Spanish yesterday.
Sí, señor. We can slide it in at 2:30. It should be going out here in about 10 minutes.